As we've been hearing this morning, the government's grooming gang inquiry is facing tremendous disruption after more survivors, possibly 4 of them now, certainly 3, have walked out on the panel saying that basically they don't want to take part in what they think is a cover-up.
Well, it's left many survivors feeling that they've been failed all over again, including Jade, who was abused by hundreds of men from the age of 14 and is still fighting to overturn a grooming conviction she received when she reported the years of abuse to the police.
Well, also joining us is the former Greater Manchester police detective and very much whistleblower in this story, Maggie Oliver. And you're still blowing the whistle, Maggie. You've written a trenchant piece in one of this morning's newspapers. I just want to quote one of the paragraphs from it. You say, what has rightly outraged the British public is not just the scale of the abuse by these predatory gangs of often Pakistani Muslim men in towns across England, but the systematic cover-up by the very institutions whose duty it is to protect all children. And you think, and you're here to say this morning, that incredibly, that cover-up is now being committed by the very committee, as it were, that's been set up to investigate it.
Yeah, morning, Richard and
morning.
Charlotte. You know, we've spoken before, so this is the latest in a long line of cover-ups. It's why I resigned from the police, because I saw the institutions that were meant to be protecting children like Jade and prosecuting their abusers turn a blind eye. And unfortunately, you know, Louise Casey did a phenomenal job. I met her and I introduced her to a whole...
Baroness Casey. Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
Baroness
yeah,
Casey.
No, just
her request to a group of survivors, including Jade. And she was in no doubt that we needed an investigation into grooming gangs. So this inquiry from day one, in my opinion, has wanted to water down that very subject. And
why would that be? Can I ask you why you... I'm interested in motive here. Why would an inquiry that's set up to investigate what she found as a matter of fact, that these grooming gangs in certain parts of, certainly, of northern England were basically interpreted by race and by religion, why would they want to obscure that?
I mean, Richard, this has been 20 years of my life, and I've asked that question many times. I think there are 3 reasons. I do think that the ethnicity of the abusers, being predominantly Pakistani Muslim men, is a key reason why they have consistently tried to cover it up. I think judgment of children like Jade, like Fiona, like Eliane, like Elizabeth, who have now resigned from the panel, has been another factor, that nobody was fighting their corners, so the authorities thought, let's turn a blind eye, let's look away.
Sorry to interrupt you, but why would they want to cover up the ethnicity angle? Given that it's a fact that's been established by Dame Baroness Casey, it's a fact. Is it because, as she found in her report, like the police, they're uncomfortable with the idea of maybe they'll be accused of being racist?
Yeah, that is the truth. That is the truth, Richard. But you're saying it is a fact. And yet, to this day, none of the inquiries, ICSA, the National Abuse Inquiry that took 7 years, £200 million, 9 days on a grooming gang inquiry, didn't look at any of the towns and cities where this happened. There is no facts to prove that, because they don't record ethnicity. They don't drill down on the reasons and why these men...
No, what I meant was Baroness Casey stated it as a fact.
Absolutely. Yeah. But this inquiry is meant to uncover the detail of that and give survivors like Jade, like the other girls who have resigned, an opportunity to share that voice. And they are being silenced. I've seen those messages that Fiona spoke about yesterday. They're trying to water down this inquiry. Whatever Jess Phillips says, I know that is what is happening. They've talked about expanding it into CSA, which is different kind of abuse, talking about including any kind of group abuse.
Well, it seemed a question was asked, wasn't it? Should this be a grooming gang inquiry or a group-based CSE, or should this take a broader approach? But they have said that it isn't going to be watered down, that they will focus on the grooming gang.
They have said that, but Fiona has proved that, and I've had messages from other people on the survivor panel, even the selection of the survivors on that panel is questionable, because it's all being done...
Well, neither of you were asked, were you, to be on the panel?
They wouldn't want me anywhere near it.
Oh, you're a troublemaker.
I was never approached.
No. And Jade, how are you feeling at all of this? Because, you know, you were quite clearly failed before, weren't you, a number of times, and I'm sorry for everything that happened to you and the fact that, you know, you weren't protected and you weren't listened to. How do you feel now about what's happening with this inquiry?
it's making me angry. It's just, why is it taking you so long to want to do anything? Why are you not doing anything? We've been to the House of Lords. I sat in front of Jess Phillips and blurted out all of our emotions. Our emotions got the better of us. We got a little bit angry with her. And all she wanted to do was walk away from the situation instead of facing it. It's like we're not ever going to get anywhere with this, and we now are never going to have any hope, because all we ever do is hold on to hope and get let down again and again.
What do you want to see happen now?
I want the law to be changed. I want these grooming gangs to be, all of them, to be sent to jail. Like, High Wycombe happened to me, and they're not sorting out the grooming gangs, but they're wanting to open children homes. Why? Sort out what the problem that's happening in your town before opening more more opportunities for these kids
potentially to happen again.
Yeah. Actually deal with the situation. I don't understand why they're not.
Before this all happened and these walkouts happened with people like victims like you saying, oh, enough, they're not listening, this isn't going in the way it should be going. Before that, were you reasonably optimistic that this inquiry was going to get to the bottom of it? And
yeah, I actually had quite a lot of hope, because Baroness Casey's report was absolutely amazing. So I was hoping that something would have been done by now.
I think what I'd say, Richard, is that Jade was one of the girls that my charity, the Foundation, took to meet Baroness Casey. And we've got an umbrella group of 25 survivors who want to speak to this inquiry. You know, Jade's story was actually referred to in Baroness Casey's report, and she said that the people that she had met, the survivors she had met, including Jade, should be front and centre of this inquiry. Jade's never been approached. I took her and a few other survivors to meet Jess Phillips in the House of Lords in, was it July?
Yeah.
And, you know, there's been no recontact since then. It's very much been going on behind closed doors, and that is worrying.
What struck a lot of people yesterday, in and out of the media and in the population at large, was that the statement by Jess Phillips, the government minister here, was so dismissive of what people like you, the victims, were reporting. I mean, they've been in these committee meetings. They say they've been gaslit. They say they've been basically almost suffocated, not allowed to say what they think. Yeah. So they've walked out. And she says that what they're saying is false.
It's not false.
I mean, you've got to listen to what victims say, especially when they're speaking from immediate contemporary experience.
And they've not made that decision lightly. You know,
no, they wanted to be part
They want to be part of this, but as does Jade, as do many others that we're supporting in the Foundation. Sorry, Jade, go on.
I was going to say, when you've got someone like Jess Phillips that just smirks in your face the whole time and actually don't do what you've asked of her, like, there's no point. There's no point with... Sorry, I don't know...
Well, we have approached Jess Phillips for a comment, and we haven't had a direct one.
And she does say, she did say, didn't she, yesterday, that allegations of intentional delay, lack of interest or widening of the inquiry scope and dilution are false. I mean, Maggie, let's come to you on what needs to happen now to save this, because obviously this inquiry is crucially important, isn't it? What needs to happen now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised at what's going on, because, you know, Keir Starmer in January was saying people like Jade and me were far-right extremists. So it's being led by people who actually don't want to do the job they're meant to be doing. What we need is a chair who will get a grip of this.
A judge.
I think a judge, and actually Fiona Goddard yesterday, I spoke to her and she made a really good point. She thinks it should be somebody who is not from the UK, who is not tarnished and already being controlled by a system that doesn't really want to uncover the truth. That is a really good idea. And we need transparency, we need communication about terms of reference. It's all being done behind closed doors. That is not what this should be.
Well, what struck me yesterday, listening to I mean, we interviewed one of the survivors, Ellie, yesterday, was it was almost like somebody going to their doctor and saying, I'm in great pain and I feel awful, and the doctor saying, no, you don't.
That's dead right.
Just like that.
Eliane is fantastic. You know, she's really finding a voice, and she's one of our group as well.
How worried are you then, Jade, that, you know, if this isn't sorted out, if this isn't looked into properly, that there'll be other girls like you potentially up and down the country?
There is 100% still other girls now, and it's going to be going on for years until they do something. It's forever going to be going on. It's been going on for years, and it's going to carry on going on for years.
Well, the Daily Telegraph, who broke the story yesterday, they said that, in their view, the whole thing should be scrubbed. and we should start again with a completely different setup, as you say, led by a judge. Do you think that's really the way to go?
Yeah, I think that the trust in this process is broken beyond repair.
Yeah.
And my personal belief is that they're not fit to take it forward, because they've betrayed the trust of those who were hoping this finally was a good opportunity, the only opportunity to put it right.
You have no faith in it anymore, do
No.
you did. You were optimistic and you thought this was going to be it.
As a survivor, you've always got to hold on to some sort of hope. But what hope can you hold on to when you're forever getting let down?
I'm really sorry.
All right, thank you both very much indeed for coming in.
We'll be putting your points to the Government Minister when we speak to them shortly. Just to say, Downing Street denies the Grooming Gangs inquiry is in crisis. They say the important thing from our point of view is to set up this inquiry, to set it up in the right way. The terms of the inquiry will be established when we've appointed a chair, and that process is ongoing.
Home Office spokesperson said in order to meaningfully consult with victims and survivors about the terms of reference, we have to ask them questions and listen to their responses. And that is not, they say, expanding the scope of the inquiry. They say it's to ensure that their voices shape it.
And if you have been affected by any of the issues we've been discussing, don't forget you can always find advice and support at itv.com/helplines.